So, it's raining out and the lights are not working. What is the problem? We're going to talk to you about some troubleshooting things of what happens when the good old rain opens up and the lights quit working. And so this happens a lot of time, especially if you get a lot of rain. If you get a lot of snow, you don't have this much problem as much. But when it is raining, you will have problems with your Christmas lights. And so in this video, I'm going to give you several places to look to fix things, how to fix it, what are some things to do to fix this. And so that's how I'm going to help you with ChristmasLights.io to help you keep your lights on and making sure that you don't have bad problems and ways that you can help keep this from happening again. This building right here, we actually had this problem. I'll show you a picture of some of this later on of what happened here, of how the problems are and what you can do. So one thing you got to remember is electric and water doesn't go very well at all. And so the very first thing is it's called a GFCI, and that's usually what you're going to plug it in. It stands for ground circuit fault interrupter. And so when water gets across there something, it will trip that, which will not trip the breaker, but it will trip the GFCI. And when that happens, you don't have lights no more. So where can we find the GFCI to reset it? Now, before we try to go reset this GFCI, you're probably going to hit it and it's probably going to click and go right back out again if you haven't fixed the problem. Now, if it rained last night, your lights went out, today you go out there, you probably will be able to reset it and you will probably be fine without that. So if you are coming out and you go back, pop it, that's because water has gotten into one of the things, and a lot of times this is due to minis, because minis, especially if you get cheap minis, I know some of you are like, let's go to this place that's local that sells you crappy minis, and this will be a problem with you a lot of times. And if you got minis, you want to make sure that all the males and female plugs are up off the ground. I can get it here. If you have a male and a female plug, you want to make sure this is not in the gutter, because if this falls in the gutter, that's going to cause it to go. If this falls down into a puddle, that's going to have another problem. So these are things so that way you can make sure this is not done. Number one is when you're done at the end of the playing, don't just let this go down into there. You can either get onto the clip right here on the back of it and just nicely put this up here so that keeps it out of the gutter. Or the other thing that I do sometimes is I will just clip it like so and then clip that on the gutter so this is not down in there. So that is some things that we can do to help keep that from doing it. If you're on landscape lighting or landscaping, like doing bushes, a lot of times that is another problem, that where water puddles around the bush, and if that male and female is in there, it's going to cause an issue and pop the GFCI. Where are some of the GFCIs? It might be right where the plug is. It might not be. It might be on the back side of the house. It could be on another plug of the house, could be causing that all those plugs to drop off of one GFCI off of anywhere along there. A lot of your newer houses, the GFCI will be right inside the door. Now that one GFCI will control all the other ones, that if it pops, it will control all of those other ones too. So the one right inside the garage door is usually where it is. It's about this high, about waist high on the new houses there. Now, some of your older houses, this GFCI can be in the bathroom. It can be anywhere in the garage. It can be in the kitchen. It can be in the basement, and it can be literally anywhere in the house. I had one that was behind a couch, and it took us forever to figure out where this GFCI is. And so that is how we are able to fix these GFCIs and to have these problems taken care of. So again, GFCIs is to help keep your house from burning down. They can be a pain in the butt, and all it is basically, if it goes to ground, it's going to trip it, and a lot of times it's going to trip it way before it ever trips the main breaker. And so that's what happens when we have this issue. So usually rain is the issue. We get lots of rain, and electric, again, doesn't play well together. And so this is what happens when we have to make sure that our lights stay on. And again, you can find the GFCI in several different places of the house. And so it is definitely, sometimes it can trip the breaker, so you may need to go to the breaker. Some of your newer houses have GFCIs in the breaker. So if the GFCI is in the breaker, then it could actually be tripping it at the breaker too. Don't think that it's just one place or the other, but these are some things that you need to do. Some preventives is get the male, make sure there's no males or females laying on the ground or in the gutter or any of those things. Make sure that these males and females are up in the air. If you're during a tree, make sure it's up in the air off of the ground in the tree, because a lot of times that water will come up and that will cause it to have an issue with this one here. It was this little right here is a trough across here, and there was water sitting in there when it rained, and they put the males and females in there, and it popped it, and it kept popping it until we got them pulled out of there. Sometimes if it keeps popping it, to figure out which ones are popping, the best thing to do is start unplugging things and plug it in, see if it works. And then when you go in and plug it in, if it pops it, then you know it's on that line. And then you can unplug the next one to see if it's in a section. And a lot of times you can do this to get it all the way down to that set of minis that could be your problem. A lot of times if I have my top, my middle here, this one here is all powered off of this side. So what I had him undo is he unplugged the bottom, and he was able to plug the top back in, and all the top lights work. So I know that's not where my problem is. So then I knew my problem was in this one here. When I looked over the building, I seen that this one was in a puddle of water, and I knew that this is what was causing these to trip. And so you can start unplugging stuff to see what's causing the issue of that ground fault circuit. Every time that thing pops, it does get weaker, so you don't want to just keep tripping and tripping, because then eventually it's going to keep tripping. And those GFCIs do need to be replaced out with an electrician if they go bad. And yes, sometimes they'll go bad. So when they go bad, I'll run my wire and plug it in a different one to help keep that from having any issues. So those are some things to think about with GFCIs and how to make sure your Christmas lights keep working all year long.